All right. So one day, Jesus and three of his disciples climbed a mountain. Actually, they hiked up a mountain. Then actually climbed the hiked onto a mountain. Okay. The other disciples, they were just in town. Life continued down there in the town. Now, we will not focus on what happened on the mountain where Jesus was there with the three disciples. You can read about it yourself. Let's focus on the disciples remaining behind. At some moment, there's this man coming with his son. Now the son was still quite young, likely still a child, maybe somewhere in his teenage years. And this son, he was acting weird, foaming out of the mouth, talking very strangely, falling to the ground, harming himself. So this young man was in a very bad condition. And everyone around could see it. So the public saw this man coming with his son. So the public thought, what goes on over here? Yet people, bystanders coming by, even some of the Pharisees who were around there, coming to check what goes on. And that man approached Jesus' disciples. Can you please help me? My son is demon possessed. The demon is harming my son. My son is destroying himself all the time. Please. Okay. So disciples come together and say, okay, listen. Let's cast out. False spirit, leave right now. Leave. They began to command the demon to leave. After a half hour of decreeing against the demon, and he began to cuss at the demon to leave. The demon couldn't leave. One of the disciples was thinking, oh, what the heck's going on over here? This is embarrassing. Look, all these people looking at us. This is an embarrassment, y'all. We're disciples of Jesus. And there's this little demon here harming this man's son, and we can't kick it out? Oh my God. So right when I'm about to, faint, because remember, the people around were began to talk, how is this even possible? Jesus casts the demons all the time. How come themselves can't do it? And the Pharisees were enemies of Jesus, were also there putting oil on the fire. But then they saw James. They saw Peter and the other disciple come with Jesus back. And when the public saw Jesus walking in, they focused on Jesus. They don't forget about the disciples, they're not focused on Jesus. And you saw the commotion, and the Pharisees were there, and Jesus asked, what goes on over here? And eventually, that man approached Jesus, explaining what's going on. And Jesus was upset by unbelief, said, bring the child here. Well, they called the boy a child, so likely early teens, mid-teens, whatever. But anyway, the child was brought. We don't know how old that son was. Whether the son was 15 or 12 or 10, we don't know. So anyway, the son of that man was brought. And Jesus kicked out the demon and raised the boy again. And the disciples were still traumatized by the whole thing. Of course, I was wondering, Lord, how come we couldn't cast it out? Jesus said, because your unbelief, you say to a mountain, if you feel like a monster, you say this mountain, be thou removed, will obey you. And Jesus said, but this kind doesn't go out except through fasting and prayer. You can read about this over yourself in New Testament. There are multiple accounts of it. I want to focus on the following. When that father, together with his demon-possessed son, approached the disciples, what was his motive? Well, Rashid, he wanted the situation to stop. He wanted his son to be healthy again and to not be afflicted by this demon harming himself. Is it clear, Rashid? Okay. Why didn't that man wait till Jesus was back? If Jesus is one with power and Jesus has disciples, then is it the best thing to wait till Jesus is back and then to get it done? Okay, I wasn't there. Maybe the disciples were saying, we can cast out too, don't worry about it. I don't know. But anyway, let's leave that behind now. Why did he not approach this disciples in private, like many other people did when it came to Jesus. Now, there were people that came in public because Jesus was in public. So the only way to come to Jesus was by coming in public. But he had the opportunity to go in private and not involve the whole community in what's going on. Why did he come in public like this? He could have left his son there, talked to the disciples in private, and the disciples would have told him, listen, Jesus is coming back soon, so wait over there. Jesus had enemies walk around, the Pharisees. Jesus had people around that walk around wanted to kill him. So Jesus had resistance against him. And it was not a secret. It was common knowledge Jesus had people against him. Why did this man approach Jesus in public knowing that there were people in the public that were against Jesus? Is this not setting Jesus up? Oh, Jesus is not around. We go to his disciples. You should understand disciples are not Jesus. There may be things Jesus can do, disciples cannot do. And if your situation is so serious and so dangerous, wait for Jesus himself. Why publicly put pressure on the disciples? You know what I mean? So when you look at it, the motive of this man was not a pure motive. He came in unbelief. Not because he didn't think Jesus nor disciples were able to help his situation, but because he was upset that he had to do this. This man, where his demon-possessed son, did not approach Jesus with a warm, welcoming heart. He did not approach Jesus. In this case, Jesus was not trying. He didn't approach disciples with a teachable heart, saying, yo, guys, my son has been demon-possessed since he was a small child. He's been harming himself a long time. I heard this, your master Jesus is able to fix him. Listen, I don't know how this happened. I need to learn. Please, I want to learn from Jesus. It's also a teacher. I mean, teach me something about the situation. How come my child became demon-possessed? Or now what can I do next time to prevent this? Or please teach me. That man just wanted to get rid of the outcome. There was a bad outcome happening, and he just wanted to get rid of the bad outcome. So, he was not teachable, he was not humble, he was not focused on a solution. He just wanted the bad outcome to go. Now think about it, this was his son, his offspring. How did your son get demon-possessed like that? If you yourself have nothing to do with it, and your son's been victimized, that means a crime happened. You want people to be brought to justice, whatever. If you made some bad decision in your life, by either being involved with the wrong people or you doing some black magic yourself, and now your son, subconscious fit, okay, then own up to it, saying, yo, your master Jesus not around, but listen, y'all, I've been wrong. I made some bad decisions that affect my family, including my son. Please, for the sake of my son, help my son. If you guys are upset with me, don't want to help me out, that's fine, please, for my son. You know what I mean? At least, be humble, be real about yourself, and realize that if you made the wrong decision that harmed your child, own up to it. Don't beat yourself up about it, but at least admit you need help and take accountability. Did this man do any of this? No. He came with this narcissistic, leave him alone attitude of, guys, there's a problem here. It bothers me. I can't do nothing about it, and it's making me look bad. It's stressing me out. Please get rid of it for me. That was his attitude. Now, it is understandable that if there's a bad outcome that afflicts you, you want that bad outcome to go. There's nothing wrong with that. However, the bad outcome is just something that just happened out of nowhere. I mean, when Jesus came and he asked the man, how long has this been going on? He said, since he was a little child. So hold on a minute. So your son has been afflicted by this demon for years. And so there's this. So this isn't just an evil spirit jumping on your son and causing havoc just like that. Because such things happened back then. Even still happens till this day. What I'm saying is this Sunday was ongoing for a long time. That means that there's a failure somewhere of the community going on. And somewhere the father failed too. But he was not ready nor willing to own up to anything. He just wanted relief from the bad outcome. So when he came to the disciples of Jesus and approached Jesus, it wasn't out of faith, out of confidence and trust in God. It was out of resentment that God was the only one he could go to. And by the way, pagans back then used to go to witch doctors and also local pagan priests in order to deal with demonic issues. That was common back then. So if it's the case that this man went to witch doctors and all the other pagan methods, and none of them worked, then he has to admit, Jesus, I did all I could, but none of it worked. But you don't even hear this man say, I did all I could, y'all. If your son is going through something and it's hurting you to see someone going through it and did all you could, you'll be desperate saying, Jesus, finally you're here. Your disciples couldn't help me, but please did all I could, please. You would be more desperate and more forceful onto Jesus. That would be uncomfortable for people around, but that would be logical. That would be natural to do. Remember there was this woman who had a daughter that was demon-possessed? She appeared without her husband and without the father of the child. And Jesus walked away, and she kept following Jesus till Jesus caved in and delivered her daughter. And Jesus praised her for her faith and her endurance. Jesus even said at some point, it's not good to give the bread meant for children to the dogs. It was symbolic, but it's still kind of insulting towards the woman. The woman said, hey, why call me a dog? No, the woman said, listen. The woman attitude was, listen, even dogs need to eat from the crumbs fall off of the table of their masters. So the woman actually said, listen, I don't care if I'm dirty, unworthy, a dog, and stupid, whatever. I could be a horrible human being. If I get what's coming to me, I get what's coming to me. Hey, this is not about me, it's for my daughter. So Jesus, you're the Savior of the world. I know you came for the tribe of Israel first, but hey, you came for the rest of mankind too. And even if I'm so unworthy for the wrong I've done and the stupid things I'm into right now, this is about the little child over here, Jesus. So if I'm unworthy, so be it. But it's not about me, it's about my child. So this woman was a true mother that put her child first instead of her own relief. I mean, can you imagine you with his daughter following after a group of grown men all over the place? The disciples told Jesus, please, Jesus, send her away. She's screaming after us, man. She's embarrassing us. She makes us look bad. I mean, what would the bystanders think? But this woman couldn't care less what other people thought about her because it was about her child. And Jesus was the only hope she had, and she kept holding on to Jesus. No regard for her own reputation, nothing like that. But this man over here with his son that was demon-possessed, he even asked Jesus, if you can, please help. And Jesus said, if you can. Think about it. You approach Jesus' disciples, not Jesus himself, because you have a problem. And you say, if you can, why you put doubt over there? Why are you in public causing a whole scene with the issue and ask if you can? While knowing that this man you need help from has enemies around there. Listen, y'all. This father that approached Jesus, I'm not saying that he didn't love his son. I'm not saying he didn't care about his child. However, this man, he was very questionable. Listen, if I'm wrong about this, I'm wrong about this. I'm not God. I can be wrong about things, y'all. Let me tell you. The way this father behaved towards Jesus, it doesn't seem like someone who genuinely wants a solution. It seemed like someone who had no choice but to come to Jesus. And now, so you have this man over here with this attitude. You have the crowd over there also treating it like a spectacle to get narcotic supply out of it. You have the enemies of Jesus, the Pharisees over there too. And the disciples having to deal with all this pressure. Jesus calm resolves all of it just like that. And you know what? Jesus didn't even stay over there. Jesus even talked to the public, nor the Father, none of it afterwards. He just moved on with the disciples. That means Jesus didn't want to be around these people, The disciples asked him, Lord, how come we couldn't cast it out? Jesus mentioned their unbelief. What was the unbelief of the disciples? Here it comes. The disciples should have seen through the bullshit. The disciples have been with Jesus for a while now. They've seen others come to Jesus in private, sometimes in public for help. And he had that far better attitude. So the disciples had enough reference to realize, okay, man, this man is a bit off. I don't care how compassionate the disciples were for the young man or the son of this man that needed help. They should have seen through the situation. The disciples were set up, The fact this man approached them in public with his doubtful, resentful attitude, like he's the victim over there. That approach put disciples in a negative daylight, and it also gave opportunity for Jesus' enemies to come at disciples too. So I want you to learn from this, okay? If someone is desperate for help, their approach to you may not be pleasant or polite. They may be disrespectful, they may be very pushy, this and that. Okay, if they're really in a deep need and they're genuine, they really want help, their approach may not be the best. I mean, for example, if a child is missing, let's say a 5-year-old is missing, and the parents want help, the parents are not going to be well behaved and all that. They're going to be, where's our son? Why aren't you doing something? You're the police, right? We pay taxes, we pay your salaries, why are you doing something? The parents will be open to any type of scenario. Maybe my child escaped, maybe the child ran off, maybe this and that. They're not going to be very polite, respectful. They're going to be quite rude and uncomfortable. But you know what? That's how they should be. And they don't give a shit how you think about them. You may hate them, dislike them. They don't care. Find my son. Find my child. Oh, you think I'm a piece of shit? Okay, then I'm a piece of shit. I don't care. It's about my child. I mean, there's a child out there. It's not pleasant, but that's it. But if someone's child is missing, and they approach you, and they're very collected, very polite, very kind, very well behaved, like they're following a script, I'm telling you, watch out. Because actual parents would generally are worried and mentally broken down with the child being missing. I don't care how well behaved you want to be, they will crash in their behavior, they will malfunction because it's a very bad situation. But someone that's so well behaved and so pleasant while all the bad things going on, don't be impressed by it. Why? Because that means they know what happened and they don't want to be incriminated, so that's why they rely on you, have a good opinion of them. Hoaxers or people who have something bad to hide will always behave extra well just to make a good impression so people think well of them. So that when people accuse them of the actual thing or people call them out, they have people defending them. But parents who really only care about the child because the child's missing, they don't care how bad they look, it's about the child. Now, okay, let's go back to this incident in the New Testament. So you have this man approaching the disciples in public in a questionable way. And when he approached Jesus, he mentioned the failure of the disciples. Bro, if I go to someone to help me out and his students are there, listen, the students are not him. Let's say now, me, myself, or one of my children, or someone close to me has a health issue and it needs surgery very quickly. When I go to you think I'm going to walk to the hospital peacefully? No, I'm going to rush to the hospital with them. Or I'm going to call the ambulance, I'm going to put pressure on the ambulance, go to the hospital very quickly. Arrive at the hospital, I want to speak to the doctor quickly. I don't even want to speak to the assistant. I don't want to speak to the apprentice. I don't even want to speak to the nurse. I want to speak to the doctor himself or the surgeon that's going to do the surgery. If the surgeon's not there yet and we have to wait, I want to wait till the surgeon's there. I'm not going to bother the interns, nor the students, nor the nurses with something they can't do. I won't do that because I want an actual solution. If surgery's be done, where's the surgeon? And when the surgeon comes up, I'll be run towards him, sir, please help us out. This and this. I will mention the issue. I wouldn't even mention the interns. I won't even mention the nurse under them because they were not qualified nor appointed to deal with it. Now, the disciples did receive power from Christ to do certain things, but they were not Christ. So why did this man mention the failure of the disciples? It shouldn't have been on his mind. It should be about, hey, Jesus, my son is a problem for you. See him over here. Please help him out. This will go on for a while. The father didn't even mention how long the problems are going on. The father didn't even explain the whole situation. He just act like a victim. Oh, my son's in trouble. Please help. You son can help me. Listen, y'all. As a believer, you need to learn the following. Some people will approach you, but they won't approach you with the right intent. They'll approach you out of resentment, either to bail themselves from looking bad, or they will approach you just so they can use you to get rid of an outcome that bothers them. And people like this, they're setting you up, y'all. That man that came with his demon-possessed son, he set up the disciples, y'all. First, he overwhelmed them with negativity of the situation. Now, I'm not talking about if we approached them in a desperate way and that would overwhelm the disciples. I'm talking about that. We actually overwhelmed them with his bad attitude. So that already, he was already blocking a flow of positivity. And then you had the public joining on negativity too. And the disciples were engaging this unbelief by fighting the outcome. No. What led to this outcome? You have to deal with the root of it. Listen, I know I know this video is a bit long. I kind of repeated myself a little bit, but I need to do this. You need to understand this. When people don't approach you in a constructive, teachable way, I'm not saying that they have to approach you in a very pleasant, polite, respectful way. If people are desperate and they want a solution and they approach you in this desperation, yet they're teachable and they're willing to receive help, if they don't approach you that way, I'm telling you, you need to watch out with them. Why are they there? What do they want from you? If someone wants to learn from you, they may not be a believer, but they want to learn from you and they approach you, they want to learn, that's good too. But if someone approaches you with doubt, I'm telling you all, I would politely and peacefully walk away from that individual and not even deal with them. Because 9 out of 10 times, that individual is sent by the enemy to block you or to delay you. Simple as that. And what happens is, when people approach us this way and we don't catch it on time, we end up being dragged into their drama and their misfortune. So before you know it, their unbelief is harming us and blocking us. And because we're not even aware of that, we participate in their unbelief, and now it becomes our unbelief too. That's what Jesus told the disciples, you're going to cause out because of your unbelief. And then Jesus said, if you had faith like a mustard seed, so if you had this invasive, not taking no for the answer attitude with your faith, you would command any difficulty to depart from you and it would go. But Jesus said, this kind does go outside to fasting and prayer. So I'm telling you, some difficulties out there, or some problems out there, they will only dissolve and go away by fasting and prayer, by consistent, devoted, dedicated effort against it through faith. Not through hard work, not by doing your best, not by having good attitudes, all of that. Some difficulties, some problems, they're only resolved by dedicated, devoted, spiritual offensive. That's it. That's what Christ was saying. Because you have to deal with the root of it. Now, a mountain has a top, a peak. We know that. But the mountain comes from the ground. So moving mountains comes down to you deal with an issue from the root in a dedicated, devoted way. So you have to know what goes on. Now the disciples weren't able to do this because the father of this young man would even admit to the core what the real issue was. He just called out the outworking, the outcome. And let me tell you one thing: this also a trick the enemy is using against believers who wear us out, y'all. Beware of this. Satan, as well as the world in general, they want you to focus so much on fighting a bad outcome that you don't realize where the bad outcome is coming from. Because the moment you deal with where the bad outcome is coming from, you dealt with it. It's over. But the thing is, if you're not dealing with the root of an issue, you'll end up going back and forth and exhaust yourself, and you end up being part of the problem. And this is going on with too many believers, y'all. So let's beware with how people approach you. Some people approach you not because they actually want better, because you just want to get rid of something bad. Of course, we have compassion for them too, work a lot towards them too, but we need to admit if someone like that approaches us. We may still assist them if necessary, but we need to watch or be watchful with dealing with such people, y'all. Because they'll set you up for bad outcomes, y'all, I'm telling you. Don't you realize that if Jesus didn't came down on time with the other 3 disciples, that these other disciples that were down there could have been lynched? Or could have been beaten up or all of that? Listen, y'all. Some people, they don't do it intentionally, but they trigger bad outcomes towards you by their own unbelief. Their own bitter resentment that they don't want to own up to. Beware with this, I'm telling you. Beware of this. All right. Listen, y'all. I'm telling you this to make you alert. Some of the problems, difficulties you've gone through, they took so long to go because you had unbelief, others feeding it. And unconsciously, you became part of unbelief by going back and forth with the outcome. Stop fighting the outcome and start uprooting the root that leads to the outcome. That's what we need to learn to do. Well, that's it for now. Keep on in Christ, and I'll see you on the next live stream. Shalom.